Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Heel Heat Podcast brought to you by the Sports Mark Analyst. I am here, the master of the thigh slapper, Benny Thurman III. I'm here with my cohorts, my partners in crime, Mr. Top One on OnlyFans, HBJ, as well as the King of Cameos, the Peruvian Destroyer, Paul.
Yo, what's up, y'all?
We are here bringing you our review of the first round as well as our predictions for the second round of our manager valet brackets. And we got some stuff to go over because there were some surprises that happened. All right. So, guys, first off, how y'all doing?
Thriving.
Exactly.
I'm still
chilling.
There's one. Like anybody that voted, we have to have a talk. There's a few of these we have to have a talk about. So I'll wait. Y'all gotta find out because it's just, I was like, I'm here every day refreshing and checking the stats, and I'm looking at the countdown, and I'm like, I'm giving you guys the updates, and I'm like, can you believe this shit? Can you believe this one? I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it's like, y'all guys keep telling me, like, remember, so many people didn't see the 80s. I was like, oh, no. That's why I kept stressing. Watch the videos, watch the YouTube, pull it up. You'll see like these some of these guys were like crazy geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right.
I'm just thoroughly convinced someone out there has it out for me, and they heard one of my reviews, and they just decided to be like, you know what, we're gonna stick it to this guy specifically.
I'm pretty sure, man. But like I said, we're called Heel Heat, so we doing our job. All right. So Paul, what we got for these for these matchups in the first round that we got to go over real quick? Like, we could just go over like the surprises because these are the ones that are setting up some of these crazy matchups in the second.
All right, so I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna be giving off like also the matchups. So we're gonna see also the brackets kind of play out. I'll be posted it up soon on the Facebook and the IG accounts. If you're not following us, follow us soon. So on this one side here, we have Jim Cornette against Tory, which was a close one, ended up being a tie. All right. And so in a tie situation, what we talked about, we're not going to vote because we have a bit of a bias. So we put it to the rest of the group for them to vote. So they voted Jim Cornette over Tory Wilson on this one, which I was glad. I was trying to figure out Tory, why would Tory come so close? But then Jay made a good point. Jim Cornette kind of makes an ass of himself on his podcast and goes after everybody. So can't blame people for voting against him.
Yeah, I was saying before, like that was one of the things that he had going against him was the fact that he's so anti-new age wrestling, and the fact that, like I say, he has the whole NWA stigma still hanging over him. If anybody's still, really thinking about that, because it was one comment that he's made 100 times. But with changing times comes changing, standards and things like that, and he just hadn't adjusted. But that, like, even then, for somebody like me who's like follows and has gotten past the whole, okay, I see female manager must click on her type thing, and I'm actually looking at what they were actually doing in the midst of that, I expected Cornette to fully just run away with this, and I was surprised that Tory was actually curb stomping him at the beginning of it.
You guys have vastly undersold Tory because of the fact that you have to understand, after the Attitude Era, after that void of Trish and Lita, like it was Stacy and it was Tory that really carried. However you feel about the women's division, she was one of the faces of WWE in terms of one of the more recognizable faces of women's wrestling. So she's going to have a lot more clout with, the early 30s to early 30s and down crowd. Because we remember Tory. I don't know who only Jim Cornette I know is the guy who's the media guy now. I don't remember
the podcast man
at all. Yeah, the past guy, the dick tweed. Like I don't know him. And most people won't know him. They just know him as being the guy that hates wrestling now.
So here's the thing. So Jim survived the first round, and I'll give him credit. But I don't think he's getting past the second round, though.
His matchup is China, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say because he has China who just beat Teddy Long. I'm sorry, he's not getting past China.
At this point, I can't say who he's getting past and who he's not getting past because apparently the deck is stacked with people who either listen to us and don't agree and just want to give us a giant FU, or people who are just like, I don't remember
Now we
her
just got
as
mail
this.
balance. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think China's gonna pull off that one. I don't think Jim's gonna win, and even if he did, this is crazy because the way this was stacked, there was like a lot of females here, and the females pretty much almost ran through this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
If Jim hadn't won, it would have been a whole female bracket at the end of the day, because he has China next, which we say he's gonna lose. On the bottom side, now we're looking at here is Vicki Guerrero, who beat out Captain Luabana, which I'm not surprised, and that's a legacy right there. So I'm calling it now. I'm looking at Vicki Guerrero and China in the finals in this bracket.
I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna go out on a limb and I say Vicki Guerrero actually wins this bracket.
I agree.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm gonna be surprised if she does. I mean, Vicky's
she's
gonna go
just
against,
she's a bigger personality.
Yeah, unfortunately, because China, was not able to come back to WWE, and so we only have her.
And they never let her get on the mic. She wasn't really a mic type of person. Like the one time we saw any sort of personality from her was her run with Eddie Guerrero.
I was gonna say that. And she opened up, and that was good. But because of the whole thing that happened with Trips, which we know, she wasn't coming back anytime soon at all. And the other one here is Paul Ellering lost to Jacqueline. I'm like,
because no one knows who Paul Ellering is. And
I was gonna say that's what the thing is.
That's what happened there.
More
people remember Jackie than they do Paul Ellering. Honestly,
because it's another one of those things where when you talk about Paul Ellering, he was out of the game for so long as far as like your mainstream wrestling. You had this big gap. Like, I don't know if he was doing anything like behind the scenes in any of these companies at the time, but the last time I remember him before he showed up with AOP was when he was riding out on a motorcycle with the stupid Rocco puppet on the front of him when they debuted the Road Warriors as a Legion of Doom, and they wanted to make it more kid friendly. And that's like early 90s. You're talking early 90s to what, 2017, 2018? Yeah. I could see that he lost. I'm looking at, the historical importance of these people. And Jackie, to me, is more historically important to women's wrestling than she is to managers and valets, which is why I went the way that I did.
Yeah, I don't think Jackie's gonna beat Vicki though. To be honest, Vicki's a legacy.
Vicky's a bigger person. Vicky's a bigger personality.
Yeah,
it's more. Vicky's more memorable as a figure in wrestling. Period. Regardless of what her role was, she's just a bigger figure in wrestling.
Especially as somebody who basically built herself up from the ground to where she was.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere after she showed up, after she actually got her contract.
Yep.
So let's stay on that side of the bracket. And we got here one that was kind of a little bit of a landslide. Paul Heyman versus Keebler. Paul Heyman pulled that one out.
Obviously.
Goated.
Yeah. Goated. And he's going to go off against Molina, who beat Slick Rick.
Again, I told you Slick wasn't going nowhere. And I don't know why y'all decided to go against me and think that everybody's going to go look at these things. Listen, even though it takes 2 minutes to look up somebody on YouTube, I'm not going to go look up somebody on YouTube. Oh, that's my homie. That's my person. Picking that person. I'm picking Molina. And Paul Heyman is probably going to run away with whatever portion of the bracket he's in because Paul Heyman, to me, officially today, from now on, is going to be known as the Kingmaker.
You're going to question that one really soon. Watch this.
He's going to be known as the Kingmaker.
Not really. Like I said, my whole thing with Molina was the exact same thing as it was with Jacqueline and a couple other people here. She is more important to me as a wrestler. Like Eminem, and it's funny saying this because of how big of an actual Eminem, the rapper fan I am. But Eminem, the tag team, they're not important to me, like at all.
Which is sad because in reality, they were the stopgap essentially for the tag division for a long time. Like they were one of the more well-known and successful tag teams after the trilogy retired, and after you had like, you know, Miz's little tag team run and all that other stuff. When he hooked up with Johnny Nitro and they came back, like they really kept tag team wrestling afloat in the late 2000s before we started getting the influx of the New Day and the Usos and all those other guys. Before all those other guys really came in and kind of really ramped up the tag team division, it was Eminem. Like they were the tag team. And it goes to say where, like, again, John Morrison was a winner from Tough Enough, like one of the few successes from Tough Enough. And Eminem catapulted him to at least get a really solid run with the Intercontinental title, and it was one of the better Intercontinental champions in that era because of his run with Eminem. So I get what you're saying. In the grand scheme of things, they may not mean a lot to you, but they did mean a lot to wrestling, especially during a period where they were on a downswing. Because people like my brother's age that started watching wrestling around that time, they remember Eminem. They remember Johnny Nitro, who then followed him to Lucha Underground, and he was Johnny Mundo. Like that's where his fan base came from, was that run with Eminem. Because we remember Melina with the splits, but then we also remember her doing things that Lita did before Melina started wrestling full time. She reminded everybody of Lita, and that's what catapulted, you know, them to the type of run that the Hardy Boys had when they broke up. Because I mean, Johnny Nitro didn't do much, because Johnny Nitro at that point, I think he got hurt and then retired after his face basically exploded.
Wait, you mean Mercury?
Mercury, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. Johnny.
I know
Mercury.
what you're talking about, though. I know what you're talking about.
Once his face exploded, then, you know, Melina just went and managed John Morrison. John Morrison got catapulted. Like he was on that cusp that Big E's been on for years, where if he would have stayed with the company and he would have stayed with Melina, he would have had a shot at Miz when you know, we had world champions like Miz and Sheamus and early John Cena, like that. Those guys, Morrison was right there with those guys up to a certain point, and it was because of the mic skills of Melina. It was because of Melina being that manager. So let's not take away from Melina's impact on wrestling, period, because, you know, a lot of people weren't watching it, but it doesn't take away from what she did. Her significance is huge. And I would say it's only maybe a step down from Michelle McCool and those girls.
She's still trash.
I mean, don't get me wrong, she was gorgeous too. Like the split and the boobs and that whole thing. It's just, the package was phenomenal. Still is phenomenal, by the way.
She's not gonna get past Paul Heyman, though. I don't think so.
If
people
vote the way voted, no. So you don't get past the Kingmaker. You don't get past the Kingmaker.
This is why I tell you, you might hesitate on that and crowning him the winner out of this bracket. On the bottom bracket, you have Stephanie, who beat out DDP, which was obvious. We said I was holding out hope for DDP, but it didn't work out.
You were the only person that thought DDP ever had a shot in hell.
Yeah.
I personally don't even know why he was even on this list, but
the bottom part of that, the last entrant on that part is Paul Bearer.
Again, I respect the hell out of Paul Bearer. Let me say that I respect the hell out of Stephanie and respect the hell out of Paul Bearer. But this is Paul Heyman we're talking about.
I get what you're saying.
Like, again, I will reiterate, at this point for this new generation, he is the Kingmaker.
I'm gonna actually piggyback on that one. I see Paul Bearer beating Stephanie. I don't see him getting past Heyman, simply because of the fact that I believe that the Undertaker, who was Paul Bearer's his main wrestler. And of course, we all know he managed Kane, he managed Mankind, or whatever. It is what it is. But Undertaker was always his main guy. Undertaker, I want to say, transcended Paul. So I would say, I'm not trying to put this as trying to diminish his role, but to me, it kind of sort of means a little less than a guy like Heyman now.
Right.
Because it seems like, although, we had missteps with Heyman when it came to like Curtis Axel and, Cesaro, and, CM Punk never needed Heyman, but it seems like everything he touches now turns to gold.
Midas, for real.
It really seems like everything he touches now turns to gold. And part of that is probably because of the fact that he has control over what he touches, but it is what it is.
But I mean, you can take it a step further, and it's not even what he touches. He blew on Big E, and Big E blew up. He blew on Apollo Crews, and now Apollo Crews, I don't care what everybody can have an issue with the accent, and I've heard some things about, like, do we really want to portray Nigerian royalty as militant or whatever? You can have your issues with that, but giving Apollo Crews, having him go back to his origin, much the way kind of like when the Fiend touches people, they go back to that older way of how they are, the thing that made them good and made people love them. If this is done right, Apollo Crews is going to be yet another guy that got hit with the Midas touch. Bianca Belair's build, was up until she chose Sasha Banks. The fact that they've been misbooking her since she won the Royal Rumble, she is still considered a top tier talent because Paul Heyman said so, and because Paul Heyman has put her over. So that is, if that's not a kingmaker right there, I don't know what is. Think about it. He touched Roman years ago. He anointed Roman years ago when Roman first fought Brock in like 2015. But he didn't have the chance to really work with Roman until now. But Roman, again, once he left the Shield and he had his run-ins with Heyman, Heyman blessed him early, and he's been on a rocket ship ever since. So, I mean, again, everything he touches, and more respect to him, because he tends to definitely get behind minorities more than he does any other wrestlers, and the underrepresented, which I respect the hell out of him for. He tends to get behind the underrepresented over, the guys that everybody wants him to get behind, and like the flashy guys and all this other stuff. It's like, if he touches you and he's behind you, you're good. So it's like, I get Stephanie has the history. I get Paul Bearer has the Undertaker, but it's Paul Heyman, bro. Like, stop. Stop.
Can I make one complaint about Paul Heyman? He hasn't spoken to Keith Lee yet.
He's not going, and I'm telling you, he's not going to bless Keith Lee yet, because Keith Lee isn't on SmackDown. But trust and believe, if the shackles of Vince McMahon ever come off of this company, you think the next Heyman guy is not going to be Keith Lee? Is not going to be Dijakovic?
I would be shocked if it wasn't.
Like, Dijakovic to me, and it's going to be that kid, the baby Brock, the kid that they just signed.
Yeah,
that was the football player.
Too.
That's going to be the next project, but I don't think he should touch him for another 5 years, personally.
There's a lot.
Kid is 17. Kid is 17, bro. Like, no. Sit him down. I don't even know why Dominic is even on the main roster, but that's a whole other episode in itself. Main roster. I know, but that's an episode in itself. But again, whoever Heyman touches is blessed. So there's no way for that. Essentially, that's what you want from a valet, from a master valet, a master manager. If he decides to get behind you, it takes you to another stratosphere. And there's only 2 people on this list that have ever done that. And one is more recent than the other. So I'm going with the recent guy.
So I agree. It's gonna be a Heyman Paul Bearer match, and it's gonna be interesting to see who comes out of this part of that bracket. And remember, the winner here faces the winner, which we think is gonna be China. So that's gonna be interesting on that side itself. Okay, so let's go to the other side. Let's
just let people know there are 4 sides here.
Yeah, let's
square.
Yeah,
it's a square.
This is like an east-west, like kind of like March Madness. we're gonna work on the one side that kind of got us baffled right now. Because it's gonna take us a while to talk about. Mr. Fuji, Deborah Marshall. Deborah Marshall won this one.
Y'all really must not like me, and I'm okay with that because I'm all right being a heel, but y'all are disrespectful. Y'all need to go back to the altar of the wrestling gods and repent because y'all are disrespectful on so many levels. How dare y'all put Deborah over Mr. Fuji? Somebody need to get y'all a history lesson and beat y'all with a book because that is just wrong on so many levels. That's all I'm gonna say about that one. Because them fighting words for real.
I was my jaw dropped when I saw this one. I couldn't believe it. Like, really?
Y'all trolling. That's what it is. Y'all trolling.
This is bad. Benny, what do you think? What do you think when you saw this result? When you heard the result?
Let's just say, for those who have not realized it yet, I have a gimmick, and my gimmick is that I'm podcasting from a different video game or anime during every podcast. For those who don't know, the one that I'm podcasting from right now is Metal Gear Solid 3. And this guy right here, yeah, his whole thing, that's Big Boss. Big Boss felt disillusioned by his country because they betrayed him. Y'all are turning me into Big Boss right now. I'm about to get an eye patch and then build an offshore oil facility to, have a private military company because y'all voted Deborah over Mr. Fuji. It's y'all fault. Go ahead, Paul.
Complete disrespect. Complete disrespect. I was just like, why? Why? Like I explained in the preview, like the one man that switched allegiances in the middle of a match, turned one team from face to heel and another one from heel to face in the middle of a match, Mr. Fuji. I don't know if I've seen that before. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if that's been done since. And if it has, that's probably where they get the idea from. And
your man managed Yokozuna when he won the freaking WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Y'all are disrespectful.
So yeah, it's just someone's like, and he's going to go off against Deborah Marshall's going to go off against Eric Bischoff, which Eric Bischoff's going to take because he just beat Sonny, the Thought. There's no way Eric Bischoff's going to lose in this one, and if they do, y'all must be in love with her puppies or something.
I'm saying because her face wasn't all that. I don't know what y'all thinking.
Yeah. So on the bottom of that side, we have Jimmy Hart, who beat Kevin Sullivan, which I'm happy about.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be going off against Sherry Martel, who beat Hornswoggle, Vince McMahon's illegitimate son. So
it wasn't his illegitimate son.
I know.
Was the Raw general manager, or I don't know.
Yeah. And then became little AJ Styles over at Impact.
Terrible.
Anyway, I see this one coming down to Eric and Sherry in the finals in this group. And I got a feeling Eric is going to pull this one off because he's more recent and he's more memorable about NWO and everything like that.
I got a feeling that Eric Bischoff is going to pull this off because people aren't going to be voting him as a manager, and they're going to be voting him as Eric Bischoff, the guy who was leading WCW and the guy who turned around and came back and started the whole Triple H reign of terror in WWE.
Basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Sherry's gonna be forgotten for what she's done, for what she did. Sherry put Macho Man on a different level. When they were both heels, she took it up to a different notch. Like you hated them. Like they fed off each other. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to explain it because you have to see it. And when I say you have to see this, you have to see it. It's different. You don't see it that much anymore. But this is what a good manager valet does. It's however much of a heel you are, they're able to intensify it even more by what they say or what they do.
Basically what Paul Heyman did with us with Brock Lesnar, because it's easy to hate Brock by himself, but Brock with Paul Heyman makes me literally want to commit mass murder because it's so annoying. Like, please make it stop. Please, God, make it stop.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. That's what you got there, pretty much. Is you can say it there. So yeah, I think Eric's gonna pull off this one, and then the last bracket part is gonna face the winner from that side where I think Sherry's coming from. We have an interesting one. We have two from the 80s. We got Bobby Heenan, who beat Queen Charmel, which is the other one that we had to take to the group to vote for.
And I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah. So they voted Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Jay, I'm guessing Bobby's the other person you said that is a type that can elevate a wrestler, which is why I'm surprised as well why he tied with Charmel. He should have ran with it,
because nobody remembers him. I keep trying to tell you that nobody remembers him.
But they remember Deborah.
Deborah's really hard to forget if you're a hormonal man, and Deborah's still far more recent. Deborah was Attitude Era. And Bobby the Brain was the Golden Era, and you have to also understand that, Golden Era. There's a love-hate relationship with the New Era generation and Golden Era, because again, it's been shoved in our faces so much that it's actually kind of annoying. And then you see the figures, like these once godlike figures, come tumbling down. And everyone's always like everyone always loves their era better. So of course you're gonna have a lot of people who grew up in the Attitude Era voting for these. And everyone's gonna look at it like, who the hell is Bobby the Brain? Like, again, most of us haven't seen or heard of Bobby the Brain until they started doing the Raw anniversary stuff, myself included.
Here's an interesting part. So Freddie Blassie was from that same era. Even before that, he beat Rick Rude.
Beat who?
Rick Rude.
That one I don't understand personally, but I don't remember either guy, so I don't have a comment for that one.
I mean, Rick Rude again. He, like I said, like Jacqueline, like Melina, he falls into the category of the wrestler with me, right? Freddie Blassie to me always been a manager, so that result in itself isn't surprising. What's gonna be surprising is if he gets past Heenan, and I doubt it's gonna happen. There's nothing against Freddie Blassie. It's Bobby Heenan.
So, all right, the next one is be interesting to watch, and this is what I'm saying. So the obvious wins were here. It's a Sable versus Miss Elizabeth match. You have two women that you have the one in Miss Elizabeth who brought the spotlight to women ballets in WWF or E. Then you have Sable, who pretty much
took sex appeal and injected it with massive amounts of cocaine and steroids.
And Red Bull and Monster and whatever else you want.
No, forget Red Bull and all that. We're talking Attitude Era. We're talking about she injected it with steroids, cocaine, and Stacker 2.
Oh, God, Stacker 2.
Yeah. So it's like, it's tough,
I personally think it's going to be Sable, honestly, because when you think of Sable, like I can imagine Miss Elizabeth and it's like, oh, she looks kind of Farrah Fawcett-y and, whatever. I think of Sable, I still drool. And I'm like, I shouldn't be still drooling over Sable like 15 years later. But like even 15 years later, she still looks incredible.
I am all right. I'm torn on this one, and I hit you guys up when Paul posted the brackets in the group, and I said that this matchup was probably going to be the most intriguing matchup out of this round. The problem I see for Miss Elizabeth is a lot of people that grew up during the Attitude Era are really only going to remember her from the Macho Man clip at what was it, WrestleMania 8, when he and Elizabeth reunited or whatever, and of course they're not going to get the context or the full meaning behind all of that other stuff. And then on top of that would be her time in the NWO, in WCW, where, like I said, she was doing literally less than nothing. Like her entire gimmick at the time was look pretty next to somebody else. That's it. And nothing against her. It's just that's what she was doing at the time. Now, Sable because Sable was quite literally the female face of the beginning of the Attitude Era. It's going to be hard for anybody to knock her off. It's just a matter of, are people going to vote against her based on perception of her attitude and personality outside of WWE? And I don't know what that is. I know one thing though. I believe I said this last time, and if I didn't, I probably thought it. If I had a vote, I would have to vote for Sable because I am afraid that Brock Lesnar will see this, find me, and tear me in half. And I don't want that.
You don't want that bad juju?
No, absolutely not. I don't need that in my life right now. None of that negativity.
And so it's gonna be interesting to see this one because if Bobby pulls it off against Freddie Blassie and if Sable wins against Miss Elizabeth, it comes down to legacy and horniness, hormones.
I mean, that was the matchup in a lot of the first round matchups. So.
Yeah, it keeps going. I want Bobby to come out of this side, but I don't really know if he can because Sable's here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Sable is a tough matchup as it is. He drew both Sable and Miss Elizabeth on that side.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on this one and what we get next. You know,
I already know. You guys are going to be disappointed, but I already know how that one's going to end up. If that's the matchup, I'm sorry, bro.
We could end up having a Final Four where Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman are the only males there, and it's Sable and China on the other side. Heyman and China versus on one side, and Sable and Bischoff on the other one.
That Sable Bischoff matchup would be
wild. A hell of a matchup. That's all I can say. That is a hell of a matchup.
Heyman and China is no matchup at all, but
it's not. But with after this first round, y'all tripping. So that's all I can say.
Breaking news. You're hearing it first before we post it up.
Yep.
Blake Griffin has agreed to a deal with the Brooklyn Nets for the rest of the season.
Oh, and Domantas Sabonis just won the skills challenge.
Nice. And this is by his agent, Sam Goldfelder.
Yep.
The agent is saying this. So pretty much it's a done deal. They just got to figure out the numbers, which will probably be low.
What's his agent's name?
Sam Goldfelder.
Okay.
I may mispronounce the last name.
Comment. Because we will get kicked off of everything.
No comment. That's all I'm gonna say. No comment.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for the show. We're gonna pretty much look at this and get ready to vote on Monday. I'm gonna get this ready out. This is posting now. So if you're listening to us on Monday, go check our Facebook, the Sportsmark Analyst, and you'll see the link to start voting. The voting will be short because when I was looking at it, the voting was pretty much till Wednesday. Nobody else voted after that one, so I'll keep it short till Wednesday. And then we'll record on Thursday with the results and post them out again on Saturday. What we're looking at is trying to have it short and then the results show on a day where there is no wrestling. That way we don't, we can watch the wrestling shows and keep up to date with them. So everybody, thank you for voting. Stay in touch with the shows, with the podcast, and our YouTube accounts. The Heel Heat brought to you by the Sportsmark Analyst. Any last words, guys, before we cut this off?
No, just the Randy Orton pose.
Jay?
Just a sexy boy dance.
All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.